Hi, I'm Nathan from JazzGuitarLessons.net, and you're listening to Album Deep Dives.
Welcome to Jazz Guitar Lessons, where we help guitarists learn jazz faster, express themselves more fluently, and have fun along the way. My name is Mark, and if you're looking to learn jazz, form better practice habits, and especially if you enjoy a French accent, make sure to subscribe.
For this episode, we will be covering two special records featuring the work of the great Bill Frisell. The first one will be Paul Motian Trio's Sound of Love, and the second one, Frisell's debut album as a leader, In Line. To start, let's talk a bit about Bill Frisell's background. He was born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1951, and moved shortly after with his parents to Denver, Colorado. He first picked up the clarinet and played in his elementary school band. At the age of 11, he picked up the guitar, but it wouldn't become his first instrument until much later. His interest for the guitar began because of Chicago blues, with the likes of Otis Rush, B.B. King, Paul Butterfield, and Buddy Guy. Before focusing on the guitar and attending Berklee College of Music in Boston, Bill majored in music on clarinet at the University of Northern Colorado. One of his major influences in jazz was Wes Montgomery, who lured him into the genre, and shortly after, Jim Hall would have a huge impact on him. He actually spent 2 months in New York City studying with him early on, and these lessons would help him in shaping his particular approach to jazz. Bill has grown to be one of the most sought-after guitar voices, not only in jazz, but in a vast range of genres. His versatility, unique sound, and sensibility, as well as his compositional skills, have allowed him to play and record country, folk, classical, pop, and jazz music with giants such as Lyle Mays, John Scofield, Bono from U2, Brian Eno, John Zorn, and Paul Motian, among others. Sound of Love is the 7th release of Paul Motian's famous trio, formed by Bill on guitar, Paul on drums, and Joe Lovano on tenor sax. It was recorded live at the Village Vanguard in 1995 and released in 1998. This record was recorded 10 years after the trio was first formed, so their concept and sound as a group, although continuously changing and evolving, was already very much established. This also marks an important event in the trio's life because it's their first recording at what probably is the most renowned jazz venue in the world, the Village Vanguard in New York City. This venue would eventually become an important home of this trio, so much so that from 2003 to 2011, they almost exclusively played there because Paul stopped touring. Fans from all over the world had to travel to be able to hear this phenomenal group. Their almost telepathic interplay and their cerebral yet organic approach makes this trio forever relevant in the world of jazz, and this particular record will show us why. The first tune in the album is Thelonious Monk's Mysterioso. Monk always was a huge influence to all three of these musicians, and it's very clear how much love for his music they have in this rendition. Joe Lovano commented in an interview that it was amazing to play Monk's music with Paul Motian because Paul had actually played in a few occasions with Thelonious himself. Lovano felt that playing with someone as great as Monk always left some trace of his genius behind, and that this was apparent in Motian's playing. Bill treats the tune in a very interesting way by always keeping the main motif going all throughout his solo, and even during his comping. It has a kind of hypnotizing effect, and the amount of variations in texture that he manages to apply to the motif is incredible. It's a little reminiscent of the great Jim Hall and his compositional approach to improvising. The second tune in the album is Mingus's Duke Ellington's Sound of Love. In this tune, Bill really shows his textural capabilities with the guitar. He interweaves contrapuntal lines against Lovano's melodies, as well as strumming and arpeggiating chords with a range of different effects, both electronic and acoustic. He does all of this always with the melody in mind, which creates an extraordinarily interactive and musical atmosphere. This paired really well with Motian's famous sensibility with the brushes, and creates a truly outstanding rendition of the tune. Next up is Mumbo Jumbo, written by the leader of the band, Paul. Bill Frisell's playing on this one is incredible. During his solo, it really does sound like there are 3 guitars playing at the same time. By the way, did you notice something unusual about this trio? Well, there is no bass. And to be honest, you don't really miss it. It's really surprising how the members of this trio use the complete sonic range of their instruments to manipulate the frequency spectrum as they wish. This allows them to create really light or heavy textures as they see fit. In Bill's solo, for example, it sounds like he is using an octave pedal to play deep notes, as he is playing a melody on top and accompanying himself with chords and counter melodies in the middle register. It's a truly fascinating approach to playing on guitar. The trio's treatment of Drake, Fisher, and Higginbotham's Good Morning Heartache is truly unique and inspiring. They take so much liberty when they play standards and pour their individual personalities into the mix in order to make them sound completely different from any version out there. The interplay they achieve is the main reason why they became one of the most renowned trios in the international jazz scene, and we can really hear it showcased here. They all have such strong and contrasting musical characters, and to have them understand each other to this degree is something truly special. Listen to how they all work as a group to create a beautiful and defined texture. It's almost like listening to Claude Debussy, where the focus is not completely on the melody, but on the general soundscape. This album features another Monk and Clark tune, Epistrophe. In this version, we can really hear Jim Hall's influence on Bill Frisell. During his entire solo, Bill develops a couple of motifs. He plays around with rhythmic variations and placement, as well as going in different tangents here and there, but always relating them back to the main motifs. It's a masterful display of a more compositional approach to soloing, something that Jim Hall is very well known for and that we explored in our Jim Hall episode previously. The last track on the album is Play, written by Paul Motian as well. It's a dark and melancholic tune which contrasts well with the rest of the album. Bill takes a beautiful chord solo here, showing his deep harmonic knowledge, together with a signature sound of his, the volume swell. We've listened to this effect previously in this album, but never quite like it's showcased in this track. Bill uses this technique to amazing effect, adding an extra layer of expression to the instrument. In this track, we get a sense of just what a well-rounded musician Bill is. He can play very intense and rhythmically intricate solos, but he can also be as delicate and subtle as on this track. And the journey he takes us through electric guitar on both instances is just as exciting. Now that we've heard Bill as a sideman, although it's fair to say that in Paul Motian's trio, the three musicians were free to express themselves without any restraints, let's delve into his role as a leader. As stated previously, In Line is Bill's first release under his own name. It was released in 1983 under the ECM label, and it features all original compositions in a very intimate setting, with only Bill on guitar and Errol Anderson on bass, and also guitar in some tracks. This album is incredibly lyrical in nature, and it lets us inside Bill Frisell's mind for a moment. It's good to remember that Bill was 32 when he recorded this album, so his sound and musical approach already had a great maturity, and it shines in both his compositions and his playing. This album is filled with memorable melodies, ethereal and intense textures, and most of all, an incredible amount of creativity and originality. To kick off the album, we have the aptly named tune, Start. In this track, we have a beautiful conversation between multiple guitars and bass. It starts with a delicate melody played by Bill and accompanied by a heavily modified guitar that sounds almost like a violin. The bass slowly joins in to add harmonic support as the piece begins to gain a more defined rhythmic feel, and both musicians exchange melodies. The whole tune has an almost folky Irish sound to it, combined with Frisell's impressive expressiveness with the guitar. He uses the instrument as a voice, shaping the melody with swells and a delicate, almost fragile touch. The next tune, Throughout, is an incredible trip featuring Bill playing with Bill. He first laid the harmonic framework of the tune down with an acoustic guitar, in order to later overdub clean and distorted electric guitars, playing beautiful melodies over the changes. This tune evokes a very melancholic and innocent feeling. The main melody sounds almost like a lullaby, and Bill's phrasing throughout is so impactful. His distorted solo borrows elements of rock and jazz to create a unique landscape. It adds so much expression to the tune, and it fits surprisingly well with the delicate harmony of the acoustic guitar. Arms is a solo piece that features Frisell's deep harmonic knowledge. It's a piece that navigates different minor landscapes with incredible lyricism. It has a lot more dissonance than the previous tunes, but Bill has a way of managing that dissonance with superb dexterity. He is so skillful at creating relatable melodies within very dissonant passages, and to use them as a means of releasing all that harmonic tension beautifully. The Beach stands out from the rest of this album's compositions because it's the first one to focus mainly on texture rather than harmony or melody. It's more of a soundscape piece with various modified guitar sounds and bowed bass that create an eerie and otherworldly atmosphere. It gives a certain sense of being underwater, witnessing all the beauty and the unfamiliar things that this other world contains. It could act perfectly as a soundtrack to a movie scene, which makes sense given that Bill has written several movie scores throughout his career. Next up is the title track of the album. In this piece, there continues to be a heavy focus on texture. One of the guitars takes a more percussive role, laying down the rhythmic basis of the tune from the start. This percussive guitar almost sounds like a steel pan, and the repeating rhythmic cell reminds me of minimalist composers such as Philip Glass and Steve Reich. The tune then introduces a melodic motif that keeps coming back and evolving throughout the piece, in order to culminate with a polyrhythmic section. It's truly special to hear Bill's vast versatility as a player and composer in this, his debut album. Even though these past couple of tunes are markedly different from the rest of them, they still retain Bill Frisell's voice in them, which says a lot of just what a consistent and intentional musician he is. Godson Song marks the end of the album. In this beautiful guitar and bass duet, Frisell and Errold have a beautiful conversation, both improvising at the same time during most of the tune. Their melodic exchange is hypnotizing. We find ourselves intrigued with where they're going next, and at the same time, so at peace with the beautiful lines they weave in conjunction. It is yet again proof of just how well Bill pays attention to what is happening around him, and of his fantastic ability to react to it and invite others to the conversation. If you're still curious about Bill Frisell's work, I have good news for you. He has a lot of material both as a leader and as a sideman. To be honest, I can't get enough of Bill's music. Among his most renowned albums are History Mystery, Good Dog, Happy Man, and East West. Some great titles. I would also encourage you to check out one of his latest releases, Music Is, a beautiful solo guitar work featuring all original compositions and a great synthesis of how Bill has evolved throughout his career. Thank you for exploring a snapshot of Bill Frisell's work with me in this episode. One thing that is clear after analyzing these two albums is Bill's immense creativity and originality. His way of maintaining melodic cohesiveness throughout his improv and comping, as well as his impressive ability to interact and engage in inviting musical conversations with his peers, are a sheer joy to experience. I hope you keep an eye out for his future releases and collaborations, as they're sure to keep surprising us. Once again, I'm Nathan Kaur, and I've been your host for this episode of Album Deep Dives. Check out our other episodes included in the Jazz Guitar Mastery program, and until next time, happy shedding.